Well, another fine day in the markets. Looks like things are cruising along to a record height, like old girl here is cruising along on a bike and it's just smiling because, the Dow is going to be hitting a record height here pretty soon. It's going to, and that's one reason that we're seeing a lot of impetus for the metals going up. But you know what? I ain't trusting this. I ain't even, as low as the metals are right now, and there's like a little bit of a bounce today. My instincts, I'm going to tell you this right now. I think there's going to be more of a pullback. Could be wrong about that. I don't like making predictions based upon just hunch sometimes, but it's not actually on hunch per se because the metals will, unless we see some kind of downgrade to the debt or something like that, that could bring the metals up a lot because fear. Fear. One thing I always pointed out, fear is one major reason people go into the metals. They're fearful of all the markets, fearful of all paper. But not enough people are fearful yet, and I don't expect a downgrade of the debt to come about right now or anything like that either. So as the Dow pulls back, it should pull back. The metal should pull back a little bit more. And I was looking at something quite interesting with gold, going back to like a weekly chart. As I was expecting all along, how gold would react. And it's a little simpler to look at gold versus silver. It's a lot more steady. But just like back here in 2008, 2009, we had we had the height. We hit 1,000 plus, dropped, went up a little bit lower high. Basically, it was three heights, three peaks, three lows. Here it's like we got the height, a lower high, a lower high. This is basically a double top, I guess you could say. And then we had this last rally when QE3 was announced. I think it was the anticipation of QE. Basically, at the end of July, beginning of August, gold started taking off. Got a little bit. It had too good of a rally. But I'm thinking that we're gonna actually have to test somewhere down here, like maybe 1,500 per se, or maybe just a little bit below 1,500 before it takes off. And nobody knows this for sure. But I really pick apart Mark Faber's words many times. He's hoping there'll be one more last washout. Like you're not going to see gold go down at 1,300 or some garbage like that, but it might just hit a little bit lower than it has before. And I don't know if that would be with silver too. I'm very bullish on silver, so I don't even think it's going to hit 26. But if the market washes out, we're going to see further pullback from where we are, and right now silver's only sitting at about 29. So it could pull back. Then again, it may not. I'm giving some very sketchy advice here, but being very truthful about it. But just simplicity. The market's hitting record height right now. That almost reminds me of like the the 1920s or something. Like back in the 20s, the whole economy. Looks like the farms are doing bad. Agriculture was doing bad. Like pretty much what's going on today because of the drought situation. I mean, the prices are up there, but farm produce is doing bad. Manufacturing's not doing that great. Stock market's still flying, right? And what happened? Not that I would risk selling any physical silver right now or anything like that. I wouldn't do it at these prices. It's too damn low. I would think, if you want to sell some physical silver when it breaks a record height, gets it in about $60 an ounce, I think you'd be pretty smart to do that if it took off like a bat out of hell after one last pullback. But, do not sell any physical silver trying to bet that it's going to go down to 26. I would not do that. That's too risky. And, some of the things I was looking at in the situation in Europe, and it looks like they're first off the austerity. It looks like they're backing off the austerity a little bit. They're going to let the people just cruise along and get some money for a change. Like open up the spigots a little bit. But the thing is with Europe, the unemployment rate there amongst the youth is astronomically high. I think in Italy it's like 38%. I forgot what it was in Spain and Greece. It's like of a certain age group, it's like 40%. It's ridiculous. The economy is horrible. So there's absolutely no way in hell China's going to be able to keep exporting to Europe, which is their number one, consumer. Because you got to figure this: most of the consumption of goods usually gets in that younger group or the middle-aged group, not the retired group. And it seems like the older people in Europe are the ones that are still in the workforce, not the younger people. So that makes it look bad for China too. So I find that I think the stock market figures are artificially inflated. And, if we just get some poor earnings reports in, you're going to see them come down pretty hard. That's something what Mark Farber's been alluding to, but it's going to be a patient wait. But being that the metals are at this price, not like silver's not at 35 and gold's not at 17 something. I just think they might have to pull back a little bit more. And looking at this overall chart, this surprised me. I expected back in here that gold was going to pull back just a little bit more, and then it was going to take off. But it took off right here. In other words, this was a psychological fake out. And I was talking about let's even talk a little bit about manipulation in the markets, because I think this is how the markets are manipulated. They're manipulated up and down. It's not just they're not just suppressing the price of gold and this type of stuff. And if you look back, I think it was a couple months ago, Bernanke said something about possibly ending QE if a couple things happened, like unemployment got down to 6%, inflation was at 2%, he'd end QE. And you notice that took a lot of steam out of the metals markets all of a sudden. Everybody, they pulled back hard. You damn well know that guy's remarks were totally aimed at the metals markets and to influence the markets. So, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's a lot more manipulation going on than you think. I really can't prove it, but, they're basically faking us out here quite a bit. And there could be one last pullback in the metals, a little bit more. But, don't expect, as of the price right now, where the metals are, it's cheap enough to buy if you don't have any. That's what I say on this. Because people who do not have any investment in the metals like gold and silver, at least 10%. Actually, I would say at least 20% or more. But that's quite a bit. And actually, I have more than 50% invested in precious metals. But I'm taking a high risk, and I know that, and I don't recommend that to everybody. And I definitely am against people that say to put 100% into precious metals. It's nuts. Actually, what I'm doing is taking a high risk by doing well more than 50% into precious metals. But I think that it'll play out, and I'm patient. So, but I would not sell at this point and wait for a pullback. But I'm tending to think that silver can actually drop. I hate to say it could actually hit that 26 again. I was saying that before, that I didn't think it would, but it might. Looking at the reaction in the markets right now, the Dow hitting near a record height, it's going to have to pull back. There's absolutely nothing holding this market up. And looking at what oil is at $90, that's telling you that the commodities in general, too, usually it's pretty well linked to gold. Gold could actually pull back a little bit more. So, people are smiling right now, like old girl here riding a bike in the Dow, but it's not a smart thing to be in right now at all. That's really a very dangerous area. Now, I want to digress a little bit. I was looking at this article. I'm just going to, it was on Business Insider's. Prince Waleed severs ties with the Forbes Billionaire list because he was pissed off about how they ranked them. But, I'm going to point something out about this list. It's actually a voluntary list. They have to provide the information to Forbes. I came across people that they basically had billions, and they weren't on that list at all, period. And there's a lot of Russian billionaires that aren't on that list at all. Totally hidden, completely. And, not that I know who all of them are, but I saw a few things. And it's almost like, the same thing we know with, people that have, wealth, and even like people like regular middle class people who are saving precious metals. It's not known to everybody how much they have or what they have. And this is the same with the wealthy. We always talk about, there's always a lot of conspiracy talk on YouTube about who the wealthy are and who the elite are. Well, I can tell you one thing: they don't want to know who they. They don't want to know. They don't want anybody knowing what they have. Period. And that's one thing I always said about with Lindsey Williams. How the elite give him inside information. I think that Ken Fromm was giving him some good information, but they never blab to anybody what's going on. And if there's a deal coming down on something, and they don't want anybody knowing their business. Period. It's like they're vaporware. They'll back off. They'll back off. If they're gonna put money down on something, they don't want to know everybody knowing that they're involved. So, and I always found that to be really crazy sometimes with Lindsey Williams used to put out these predictions about the elite telling him what's going on because he's the pastor and they trust him and they got a conscience. Sure, they have a conscience, but they still want more money, and they don't want to screw that up by blabbing what their plans are. So, but anyway, stick with the metals. I have a feeling that there's going to be somewhat more of a pullback yet, and looking at these charts is pretty crazy because, I expected this back here in 2012 where silver might test 24.25 and gold would go a little bit below 1500, and there, they renounced QE and it took off. Now we have this slow slide coming in here in gold. Now I know today it's up a little bit, but electronically, I think I'm going to wait. I might be missing the boat, but I might go back into platinum, and I'm going to wait and see if it gets down into possibly below 1500, and then I'm going to pull the trigger on some of that. So, but in the meantime, I'm just going to sit pat. I also have core holdings in silver and gold electronically, some of the stocks, oil, copper, and agriculture, and that kind of garbage. So I'm just going to wait, and I'm thinking that this market may pull back a little bit more. And, I'm going to tell you this, something else, a little common sense. Warren Buffett, he never talks about gold, right? I don't have too much respect for him, too. I don't think he's the brightest guy in the world. I listen to Mark Farber a lot, and Jim Sinclair, Rickards and all those guys, but there's other people, and I don't really have somebody. I criticize some people on here that were on YouTube, but it's not like I have a dislike for somebody or anything like that, or it's like I'm trying to just put them down. It's like I would listen to anybody I think is useful, to tell you the truth. But I just want to tell you something about Warren Buffett. He's not going to tell the whole public to buy gold because he wants everybody to invest in his Berkshire Hathaway fund. He's not going to tell them to buy gold. And he could be buying gold. You don't know what they're doing. Just like that Forbes list I showed, that the Saudi prince doesn't want anybody, he doesn't want to get involved in it anymore because he don't like his ranking. It's a voluntary list. Nobody knows what the hell these people are doing. You don't know, like George Soros sold out of GLD. He could have sold out of GLD and bought physical gold. He maybe sold it like a month ago or so and it was a little higher, and now he's buying physical. You have no idea what these people are doing. But from my gathering on seeing some of the super, super wealthy, I'm like, every time I see one of these names, I think, this guy has like, no bullshit. I saw this guy had I said this before, he actually had a dentist office. I was looking him up, and I was like, he had like 3 people working for him. And he had $1 billion in his, billion euros in his CD. And he's not from this country, but it was in euros. And, I'm like, he's not on, I knew the Forbes list is bullshit. I knew this from way back. I mean, I knew it like when I first started working in accounting that it was not. And it's amazing this prince wants his name higher up on the list. Most people want their name lower down on the list. I can tell you that there's some people I knew from, I worked for decades ago. They were actually unofficially number 4 on that list, but they were rated way down. They were down, towards the 100 level, So most people who have a lot of money, they don't want anybody to know what's going on. They keep it hidden. So, but like Warren Buffett, George Soros, and everything, they're not going to tell you what they're doing in the background. They could very well be buying metals. And from what I've seen from the wealthiest people, they have a lot of assets stashed in various physical ways. It could be land values, and like they can have lumber and like trees and hardwoods and minerals on the land, and they're only showing the cost of the land. There could be, essays that saying like, all these trees grew on the land and they're worth millions and millions of dollars. That ain't on the books. That ain't on the books. Or there could be, minerals underneath there. They're not on the books. It's just like it's held at cost, not at market. So, and paintings they buy. Hey, they buy paintings. They buy artwork. They buy, precious gems and stuff, jewelry. Nobody knows what the hell they got. They got they do the same thing like the middle class does. Same thing, like the smarter middle class. They basically hoard wealth, and nobody knows what they have. That Forbes list is bullshit. But I could tell you the guy, he was like he had a small dentist office, and he had that wasn't even all his assets. He had €1 billion on a CD. So, it's amazing. And what people are telling you that are wealthy on the internet, they could be doing the exact opposite. So I'm going to tell you this: you might say I shoot from the hip, but I don't shoot from the hip exactly. I'm playing street smarts and common sense all the way. There may be a little bit more of a pullback, but don't try to wait for some kind of insane number to buy, because you could be missing a boat, you could be missing a ride. And from where silver is right now and gold is right now, it's going a hell of a lot higher. And when it starts springing up, you're going to be like waiting for a pullback, and you're going to be missing the boat all the way, because it's going to start taking off again at some point. It may be a fast, hard pullback when we see the markets tank a little bit, and that's going to be it, off to the races. So, stick with it, and don't sell any really at this time to try to bet for a pullback to get down to 26. I'm not sure about it, but right now my senses are telling me. I know. Senses, right? But I'm telling you, I think it is going to pull back a little bit. We have not seen a final real hard washout. Mark Farber kind of alludes to that. He kind of senses this too. And you look at everything, how things played out in the past. It seems like there's always one hard final washout. But I don't know. It could just be sitting like this for a long time, and that could be the washout itself too, just bouncing around real low. So, and silver's low right now. Not a time to sell. Not a time to sell. I mean, if it goes crazy and it goes up to 60, sell some. If it goes past 60 to 75, sell some more. If it does that really fast. If it goes to 100, I'd be dumping a lot of it. I would be. Now, see, that's where I differ from, say, Brother John F. He'd be telling you to hold it's going to 400. I don't think so. I do not think the dollar is going to go to oblivion. At least not that fast. You're gonna have to see a defeat of the American military, hard defeat, before you see the dollar go to oblivion. It's definitely not going to oblivion right away. So, dollars are going to buy stuff for at least a couple years easy.